Your mind is a nation. Right now, as you listen to these words, that nation is being governed. But who is in charge? Is your inner world a land of chaos, a failed state ruled by a mob of warring factions? Is it a rigid, oppressive state, ruled by the iron fist of a ruthless dictator? Or is it a calm, just, and powerful state, governed by a wise and benevolent leader? The form of your inner government determines the entire quality of your life, the nature of your peace, and the strength of your relationships. Every man's soul is governed by one of three regimes. The vast, overwhelming majority of men live in a state of anarchy. Their inner world is a civil war, where their own emotions, impulses, and fears are warring factions, each fighting for control. A smaller, more disciplined group of men manage to escape this chaos. They stage a coup d'etat and establish a new regime. They become the ruler of a dictatorship. They use their sheer force of will to suppress the chaos and impose an iron order upon their own minds. They are powerful, but their rule is brittle and based on fear. And then there's a final, highest, and rarest form of self-governance. This is a republic. This is the man who has transcended the need for brutal suppression. He has created a just, balanced, and harmonious inner state, where reason presides, virtue is the law, and all parts of himself work together for a common good. This is the state of the Stoic sage. Today, this is your political analysis. We will first diagnose the chaotic and powerless state of inner anarchy. We will expose the warring factions that are currently tearing your soul apart. And then, we will deliver the revolutionary's handbook, the complete, step-by-step guide for staging your own internal coup, for overthrowing the bloody chaos of anarchy, and for establishing the powerful, orderly, and respected rule of a new regime. Let us begin by surveying the war-torn landscape of the first and most common state, the life of a man in anarchy. The defining characteristic of this inner state is the absence of a central government. There is no king on the throne, no president in the capital. The territory of the mind has been fractured and is now controlled by various competing gangs and warlords. There's the warlord of anger, who seizes control at the slightest perceived disrespect, launching a full-scale, destructive assault that damages your relationships and your reputation. There's a gang of fear, a band of insurgents who use guerrilla tactics of anxiety and self-doubt to sabotage any attempt you make to advance in your career or in your love life. There's a cartel of pleasure-seeking, which hijacks your resources, spending your time and energy on cheap, short-term highs, leaving your kingdom's long-term infrastructure, your health, your skills, your purpose, to crumble into ruin. And who are you in the midst of the civil war? You are a powerless citizen. You are hiding in your home, listening to the sounds of the conflict outside, hoping the violence doesn't spill over and ruin your day. You feel like a victim in your own country. You have no control. Your life is not a series of conscious choices, but a series of chaotic, unpredictable events dictated by whichever internal faction happens to win the battle for control of your mind in that given moment. The foreign policy of a failed state is one of desperation. In relationships, the man in anarchy is weak and easily colonized. He seeks a stronger nation, a woman with a more stable inner world, to either save him or to conquer him. He might submit completely to her rule, becoming a compliant subject in her kingdom, abandoning his own culture, his own values, just to feel a moment of peace from his own inner war. Or the chaos of his inner state will inevitably spill over his borders, creating drama and conflict that poison any alliance he tries to form. If you recognize the sounds of the civil war within your own mind, if you're tired of being a powerless citizen in your own country, a refugee from your own emotions, then you must understand that all great nations are born from revolution. The decision to rise up, to declare that the chaos will end, and to impose a new order is the birth of your power. You can sign your personal declaration of revolution right now by subscribing to this channel. This is the headquarters for the men who are choosing to end the anarchy. This is where we learn to rule. Join the cause. The journey from a state of anarchy to one of order is not a peaceful transition. It is a coup d'etat. It is a violent and necessary seizure of power from the chaotic factions that have ruled you for too long. This is the ascension to the state of the dictatorship, and it is the first great act of self-mastery. The leader of this revolution is a single, powerful, and ruthless force, your own conscious will. This is the Nietzschean hero, the part of you that has grown sick of the chaos and rises up to declare, "No more. From this day forward, I am in charge." The ego in this stage becomes a necessary and powerful revolutionary leader. Its goal is singular, to seize power and establish absolute control. This coup is achieved with three primary instruments of power. The first and most important is the iron fist of brute force discipline. The dictator does not negotiate with the warring factions of his old self. He does not reason with the gang of fear. He does not plead with the cartel of pleasure-seeking. He crushes them. He uses his raw willpower to impose a new, non-negotiable order. When the voice of laziness tells him to stay in bed, he executes that voice by getting up immediately. When the feeling of anxiety tells him to avoid a necessary challenge, he executes that feeling by taking action. This stage is often ascetic and brutal. It is a man who adopts a rigid workout schedule, a strict diet, a demanding work ethic. He is at war with his own weakness, and his primary tactic is overwhelming force. As Machiavelli would argue, this kind of ruthless action is often necessary to bring order to a state of absolute chaos. It is better to be the feared ruler of your own mind than a helpless victim of its anarchy. The second instrument is the propaganda machine. The dictator must seize control of the state-run media, the inner monologue of your own mind. The anarchist state is filled with the chaotic noise of the inner critic, of self-doubt, of 1,000 conflicting opinions. The dictator shuts this down. He replaces it with a constant, powerful stream of his own propaganda. These are his affirmations, his mantras, his written goals. He relentlessly bombards his own mind with a message of his new regime, messages of strength, of purpose, of discipline. He is brainwashing himself into a new and more powerful belief system. He understands that he who controls the narrative controls the nation. The third instrument is the secret police of ruthless self-monitoring. The dictator trusts no one, especially the old factions. He establishes a secret police to hunt down and eliminate any signs of dissent. This is the practice of hypervigilance. He constantly monitors his own thoughts for any sign of weakness or rebellion. He tracks his habits. He reviews his actions at the end of each day, searching for any deviation from his new, rigid code. This is a state of constant, high-alert tension. It is the mindset of a ruler who knows his new power is fragile, and that the old rebels are always waiting for a moment of weakness to try and retake control. When a man successfully wages this internal revolution, when he has crushed his weaker impulses with the iron fist of discipline, seized control of his inner narrative, and established a vigilant watch over his own mind, the civil war ends. He has achieved the impossible. He has forged a powerful, orderly, and productive state from the bloody ashes of his own inner chaos. He is now the undisputed ruler of his own mind. He is a dictator. He is respected for his willpower. He is often feared for his intensity. He achieves his goals. He is a testament to the power of iron will. But the dictator rules through force, fear, and suppression. The warring factions are silent, but have they been integrated? Or are they merely waiting in the dungeons, plotting their revenge? The land is orderly, but is it truly free? His peace is a tense, brittle piece of the prison yard, maintained by the constant threat of force. He has ended the chaos, but he has not yet created a true civilization. The final and most difficult revolution a man must lead is not against a mob, but against the throne itself. It is a journey of learning that true power is not in the clenched fist of a dictator, but in the open hand of a wise and just leader. It is the epic journey from the ruthless dictator to the benevolent founder of a free republic. We left our hero at a moment of great and terrible victory. He has accomplished the impossible. Through a bloody and disciplined coup d'etat against the chaotic factions of his own mind, he has ended the civil war of anarchy. He now sits on the throne of his own soul, not as a helpless citizen, but as the undisputed ruler. He is the dictator. His kingdom is orderly, his will is law, and his life is a testament to the formidable power of his own focused, iron will. And it is here, in this powerful but precarious new regime, that the true, deeper work of man's life begins. The dictatorship is a necessary, but not a noble destination. It is a war camp, not a civilization. The man who remains a dictator for too long discovers that his throne is not a seat of peace, but a prison of its own. He has escaped the chaos of the mob only to become a slave to the crown. To ascend to the final, highest form of self-rule, a man must first understand the limits and the profound dangers of his own dictatorship. The first great danger is the price of suppression. The dictator's primary tool for maintaining order is fear and suppression. He has locked the rebellious factions, his own fear, his sadness, his vulnerability, his spontaneity, in the dungeons of his mind. But as the great psychologist Carl Jung taught, the repressed shadow does not die in the darkness. It festers. It gathers strength. This constant, low-level suppression requires an immense amount of energy to maintain. It leads to a life that feels sterile, joyless, and brittle. And eventually, the repressed prisoners will riot, leading to sudden, explosive outbursts of rage or despair that seem to come from nowhere. The second danger is the brittle crown of control. The dictator's power is absolute, but his peace is non-existent. He lives in a state of constant, paranoid hypervigilance, always watching for the next sign of rebellion. His entire identity has become fused with the act of being in control. This is a new and more sophisticated form of slavery. He is not free. He is the chief warden of his own maximum security prison. He cannot relax. He cannot be spontaneous, because he fears that any lapse in his iron rule will lead to a return to the bloody chaos of anarchy. The third and most tragic danger is the empty kingdom. The dictator is feared. He is respected for his strength. But he is not loved. His rule is one of force, not loyalty. In his relationships, he cannot create true, deep intimacy, because intimacy requires a degree of vulnerability that his entire regime is designed to crush. He cannot be truly open with his partner, because in his mind, she is a foreign power who might exploit any perceived weakness. He rules a silent, orderly, and deeply lonely kingdom of one. The final and most difficult revolution a man must lead is not against a mob in the streets, but against the tyrant on the throne himself. The journey from the ruthless dictator to the wise and just leader of a free republic is the final ascension. This is not a violent coup, but a profound and voluntary reformation. It is built upon three pillars of wise governance. The first pillar is the great amnesty. The first act of a true statesman is not to execute his enemies, but to liberate his political prisoners. The man on this path must have the courage to go down into the dungeons of his own mind and offer amnesty to the rebels he has suppressed for so long. This is the act of shadow integration. He stops treating his fear, his anger, and his sadness as traitors. He begins to listen to them. He understands that they are not enemies, but a disenfranchised populace with legitimate needs and valuable information. His fear is a scout, warning him of potential dangers. His anger is a sentry, telling him when a core value has been violated. His sadness is a minister of grief, allowing him to process loss and heal. He gives them a voice, a seat in the new government, but he does not give them the throne. He integrates their wisdom and energy into his rule, transforming them from internal enemies into loyal advisors. The second pillar is the constitutional convention. The dictator's rule is the law. The statesman understands that a just government is a government of laws, not of men. He must establish a law that is higher than his own ego. This is his Stoic constitution of virtues. In this new republic of the mind, reason, the Stoic logos presides as the wise and impartial president. The emotions and instincts, the liberated prisoners, are given a voice in a respected Senate. They can propose legislation. They can voice their concerns. They can provide their powerful energy. But all actions, all final decisions, must be ratified by the President of Reason and must be in accordance with the supreme law of the land, the constitution of courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom. This creates a brilliant system of internal checks and balances. The Senate of Anger may propose a declaration of war over a minor slight, but the President of Reason, citing the constitutional law of temperance, can veto it. The lobby of fear may push for a policy of total inaction, but the President, citing the law of courage, can override it. The man is no longer ruled by a single, fallible entity. He is governed by a wise and balanced system of his own creation. The third and final pillar is the shift from ruler to servant. The dictator rules for the sake of his own power. The statesman, the leader of the republic, understands the highest Stoic ideal, that the purpose of a ruler is to serve the well-being of the state as a whole. His goal is no longer just order, but the flourishing of his entire inner world. His mission expands. He uses his discipline not just to build his career, but to cultivate a state of inner peace. He uses his courage not just to face his fears, but to open his heart to a deeper connection. He uses his power not to control his partner, but to create a safe and prosperous kingdom where both of them can thrive as sovereign individuals in a powerful alliance. He has shifted from ruling for himself to serving the common good of his own integrated soul. When a man has completed this final, profound revolution, he has reached the highest form of self-governance. He is the statesman. His presence in the world is one of benevolent authority. The dictator was tense and intimidating. The statesman is calm and commanding. He has an aura of deep, integrated power that does not require force to be felt. He does not need to shout, because his quiet word carries the full weight and legitimacy of his just and well-run republic. In his relationships, he is the ultimate diplomat king. He does not seek to rule his partner, for she is a sovereign nation of her own. He seeks to form a strong, just, and lasting alliance. He can listen to the chaotic politics of her inner world without his own state descending into anarchy, because his own government is stable and secure. He provides a profound sense of safety and order, not by controlling her, but by being in perfect control of himself. His peace is now unshakable, for he has embraced the more fatty as the final law of the land. He has built the best, most just, and most resilient inner state that he possibly can. He accepts that barbarian invasions, external hardships, losses, and tragedies will inevitably test his nation. His greatness as a leader is not in preventing all crises, but in the wisdom, courage, and tranquility with which he governs his republic through them. The three governments represent the great political evolution of a man's soul. You begin in the bloody chaos of anarchy. Through a heroic act of will, you can seize control and establish the brutal order of the dictatorship. And finally, through the greatest wisdom and humility, you can found a harmonious and powerful republic within yourself. This is the ultimate journey of a man, to become the just and wise ruler of the only kingdom he will ever truly own. Which government is ruling your mind today? Are you living in chaos, in a state of rigid control, or are you building a republic of reason and virtue? Share your political analysis in the comments below. If you are ready to continue this great work of statecraft, to become the leader your inner world is crying out for, then subscribe to this channel. Join a nation of men who are choosing to rule themselves with wisdom, courage, and honor